Hello, my name is Jiso and I'm reading Shōbōgenzō. And we are on chapter 9, Keisei sanshiki, the voices of the river valley and the form of the mountains. Kei means river valley, sei means sound or voice, san means mountain, and shiki means form or colour. So Keisei sanshiki means voices of river valleys and forms of mountains, that is, nature. In Buddhism, this world is the truth itself, so nature is a face of the truth. Nature is the material side of the real world, so it is always speaking the truth and manifesting the law of the universe every day. This is why it has been said since ancient time that sounds of rivers are the preaching of Gautama Buddha, and forms of the mountains are the body of Gautama Buddha. In this chapter, Master Dōgen preached to us the meaning of nature in Buddhism. In the supreme state of Bodhi, Buddhist patriarchs who transmitted the truth and received the behavior have been many, and examples of past ancestors who reduced their bones to powder cannot be denied. Learn from the ancestral patriarch who cut off his arm, and do not differ by a hair's breadth from the bodhisattva who covered the mud. When we each get rid of our husk, we are not restricted by former views and understanding, and things which have for vast kalpas been unclear suddenly appear before us. In the here and now of such a moment, the self does not recognize it, no one else is conscious of it, you do not expect it, and even the eyes of Buddha do not glimpse it. How could the human intellect fathom it? In the great kingdom of Sung, there lived the layman Toba, whose name was Soshoku, and who was also called Shisen. He seems to have been a real dragon in the literary world, and he studied the dragons and elephants of the Buddhist world. He swam happily into deep depths and floated up and down through layers of cloud. Once he visited Lushan. In the story, he hears the sounds of a mountain stream flowing through the night and realizes the truth. He makes the following verse and presents it to Zen Master Joso. The voices of the river valley are the Buddha's wide and long tongue. The form of the mountains is nothing other than his pure body. Through the night, 84,000 verses. On another day, how can I tell them to others? When he presents this verse to Zen Master Joso affirms it. Joso means Zen Master Shokaku Joso, a Dharma successor of Zen Master Oryo Inan. Inan is a Dharma successor of Zen Master Jimyo Soen. Once, when layman Toba met Zen Master Butsu in Ryogen, Butsuin gave him a Dharma robe, the Buddhist precepts, and so on, and the layman always wore the Dharma robe to practice the truth. The layman presented Butsuin with a priceless jewelled belt. People of the time said their behaviour is beyond common folk. So the story of realizing the truth on hearing the river valley may also be a benefit to those who are later in the stream. It is a pity that so many times the concrete form of the teaching, preaching of Dharma by manifestation of the body, seems to have leaked away. What has made layman Toba see afresh the form of the mountains and hear the voices of the river valley? A single phrase? Half a phrase? Or 84,000 verses? It is a shame that sounds and forms have been hiding in the mountains and waters, but we should be glad that there are moments in which, and causes and conditions whereby, real sounds and forms show up in the mountains and waters. The tongue's manifestation never flags. How could the body's form exist and vanish? At the same time, should we learn that they are close when they are apparent, or should we learn that they are close when they are hidden? Should we see them as a unity, or should we see them as a half? In previous springs and autumns, layman Toba has not seen or heard the mountains and waters. But in moments through the night, he is able, barely, to see and to hear the mountains and waters. Bodhisattvas who are learning the truth now should also open the gate to learning by starting from mountains flowing and water not flowing. On the day before the night during which this layman has realized the truth, he has visited Zen Master Joso and asked about stories of the non-emotional preaching Dharma. Under the words of the Zen Master, the form of his somersaulting is still immature, but when the voices of the river valley are heard, waves break back upon themselves and surf crashes high into the sky. This being so, now that the voices of the river valley have surprised the layman, should we put it down to the voices of the river valley, or should we put it down to the influence of Shokaku? I suspect that Shokaku's words on the non-emotional preaching Dharma have not stopped echoing, but are secretly mingling with the sounds of the mountain stream in the night. Who could empirically affirm this situation as a single gallon? And who could pay homage to it as the whole ocean? In conclusion, is the layman realizing the truth, or are the mountains and waters realizing the truth? How could anyone who has clear eyes not put on their eyes at once and look at the manifestation of the long tongue and the pure body? Another case. Zen Master Kyogen Chikan was learning the truth in the order of Zen Master Dai Daien. On one occasion, Dai says, "You are sharp and bright, and you have wide understanding. Without quoting from any text or commentary, speak a phrase for me in the state you had before your parents were born." Kyogen searches several times for something to say, but he is not able. He deeply regrets the state of his body and mind, and looks through books that he has kept for years, but he is still dumbfounded. In the end, he burns all the writings he has collected over the years and says, "A rice cake that is painted in a picture cannot stave off hunger. Upon my oath, I shall not desire to understand the Buddha Dharma in this life. I only want to be the monk who serves the morning gruel and the midday meal." So saying, he spends years and months as a server of meals. The monk who serves the morning gruel and midday meal means one who waits upon the other monks at breakfast and the midday meal. He would be a liveried waiter in this country. While he is thus occupied, he says to Dai, "Chikan is dull in body and mind and cannot express the truth. Would the master say something for me?" Dai says, "I would not mind saying something for you, but if I did so, perhaps you would bear a grudge against me later." After spending years and months in such a state, Chikan enters Butozan Mountain, following the tracks of National Master Daisho, and makes a thatched hut on the remains of the National Master's hermitage. He has planted bamboo and made it his friend. One day, while he is sweeping the path, a piece of tile flips up and strikes bamboo with a crack. Hearing this sound, he suddenly realizes the great state of realization. He bathes and purifies himself, and facing Daizan Mountain, he burns incense and does prostrations. Then, directing himself to Master Dai, he says, "Great Master Dai, if you had explained it to me before, how would this thing have been possible? The depth of your kindness surpasses that of a parent." Finally, he makes the following verse. "At a single stroke, I lost recognition. No longer need I practice self-discipline. I am manifesting behavior in the way of the ancients, never falling into despondency. There is no trace anywhere. The state is dignified action beyond sound and form. People everywhere who have realized the truth, all will praise these supreme makings." he presents the verse to Dai. Dai says, "This disciple is complete." Another case. Zen master Ryan Shigon is a seeker of the truth for 30 years. One day, while on a ramble in the mountains, he stops for a rest at the foot of a hill and views the villages in the distance. It is spring, and the peach blossoms are in full bloom. Seeing them, he suddenly realizes the truth. He makes the following verse and presents it to Dai. For 30 years, a traveller in search of a sword, how many times have leaves fallen and buds sprouted? After one look at the peach blossoms, I have arrived directly at the present and have no further doubts. Dai says, one who has entered by relying on external phenomena will never regress or falter. This is his affirmation. What person who has entered could not rely on external phenomena? What person who has entered could regress or falter? Isan's words are not about Shigon alone. Finally, Shigon succeeds to the Dharma of Dai. If the form of the mountains were not the pure body, how could things like this be possible? A monk asks Zen master Choso Kaishen, how can we make the mountains, rivers and the earth belong to ourselves? The master says, how can we make ourselves belong to mountains, rivers and the earth? This says that ourselves are naturally ourselves, and even though ourselves are mountains, rivers and the earth, we should never be restricted by belonging. Master Ikkaku of Rōya, titled Great Master Kosho, is a distant descendant of Nangaku. One day, Shisen, a lecturer of a philosophical sect, asks him, how does pure essentiality suddenly give rise to mountains, rivers, and the earth? Questioned thus, the master preaches, how does pure essentiality suddenly give rise to mountains, rivers, and the earth? Here we are told not to confuse mountains, rivers, and the earth, which are just a pure essential. Here we are told not to confuse mountains, rivers, and the earth, which are just pure essentiality, with mountains, rivers, and the earth. However, because the teacher of sutras has never heard this, even in a dream, he does not know mountains, rivers, and the earth as mountains, rivers, and the earth. Remember, if it were not for the form of the mountains and the voices of the river valley, picking up a flower could not proclaim anything, and the one who attained the marrow could not stand at his own place. Relying on the virtue of the sounds of the river valley and the form of the mountains, the earth and all sentient beings realize the truth simultaneously, and there are many Buddhas who realize the truth on seeing the bright star. Bags of skin in this state are the wise masters of the past, whose will to pursue the Dharma is very deep. People of the present should research their traces without fail. Now, also, real practitioners who have no concern with fame and gain should establish similar resolve. In this remote corner, in recent times, people who honestly pursue the Buddha Dharma are very rare. They are not absent, but they are difficult to meet. There are many who drift into the monkhood and who seem to have left the secular world, but who only use Buddhism as a bridge to fame and gain. It is pitiful and lamentable that they do not regret the passing of this life, but vainly go about their dark and dismal business. When can they expect to become free and to attain the truth? Even if they met a true master, they might not love the real dragon. My late master, the eternal Buddha, calls such fellows pitiful people. They are like this because of the bad they have done in past ages. Though they have received a life, they have no will to pursue the Dharma for the Dharma's sake, and so when they meet the real Dharma, they doubt the real dragon, and when they meet the right Dharma, they are disliked by the right Dharma. Their body, mind, bones, and flesh have never lived following the Dharma, and so they are not in actual accord with the Dharma. They do not receive and use in harmony with the Dharma. Founders of sects, teachers, and disciples have continued a transmission like this for a long time. They explain the body-mind as if it were relating an old dream. How pitiful is that? Having been born on the treasure mountain, they do not know what treasure is, and they do not see treasure. How much less could they actually get the treasure of the Dharma? After they establish the Bodhi-mind, even though they will pass through the cycle of the 6 states or the 4 kinds of birth, the causes and conditions of that cyclical course will all become the actions and vows of the state of Bodhi. Therefore, though they have wasted precious time in the past, as long as their present life continues, they should without delay make the following vow. I hope that I, together with all living beings, may hear the right Dharma through this life and through every life hereafter. If I am able to hear it, I will never doubt the right Dharma, and I will never be disbelieving. When I meet the right Dharma, I will discard secular rules and receive and retain the Buddha Dharma, so that earth and sentient beings may finally realize the truth together. If we make a vow like this, it will naturally become the cause of and conditions for the authentic establishment of the mind. Thank you.